Hi everyone, I'm Joanna.
And I'm Jenny.
And this is Hyphenated, the podcast about living in the hyphen. Jenny, we've had a lot of guests on our podcast. A lot.
We have.
And a lot of them have been people in the music industry. And every time we get these interviews booked, I'm always like, I love music. I'm so dumb about music.
Yeah, I only understand it to a certain extent because I played clarinet for 3 years and piano for 4, and my undiagnosed ADHD got in the way and I didn't go through with it.
I played the piano for many years, and then I quote unquote played the flute. I never made it sound.
Me neither.
I played it for 2 years. Bro, I couldn't make it sound.
2 years?
I lied. I'd go to like the big como que school performances and I'd just go like and my parents would be like, oh my God.
How did you get away with it?
Tenemos una cenita esta noche. Why don't you do a performance with our friends? And I was like, oh, my throat hurts a little bit. And my mom's like, you're such a liar. You don't know how to play this goddamn instrument. But I was so embarrassed that I couldn't make it sound that I just like lied.
You have to be a magician or un sorcerer to make the flute make noise, because I also tried when I was like, okay, let me see which one, because they didn't let us play percussion because I wanted to do the drums, and they're like, okay, I'm not playing no goddamn trumpet or trombone, I have asthma. And so let me try the flute. Didn't work, so I gave up after a day. The clarinet.
I mean, I gotta say, the clarinet is always the instrument that the nerdy girl in every high school film that was made between the 90s and early 2000s played.
It's very popular in Tim Burton films.
Oh, that too. It's a quirky instrument.
Quirky, yeah.
It's kind of like the cello, I see people like lugging around their cellos around New York, and I'm like, why not a more convenient instrument? Why not the violin? I don't know why you chose this instrument.
Go big or go home, man.
Oh, dude, it looks so inconvenient.
No,
but
yeah,
anyway,
lugging that around, especially in New York, that's commitment.
The other day I saw 2 people with their enormous cellos on the subway, and I was like, these guys must know each other, but they didn't. The guy just like, one guy left, like got off on his stop, didn't even say bye to the other guy with the cello.
I would have
and I'm
nodded.
like,
I would have been like, sup, cello
it's like,
guy.
yo, what's up, cello? We both chose the
you.
most inconvenient instrument. We should be brothers. But no.
Oh, no, you know what the most inconvenient is? The harp.
Oh, yeah. The harp is huge in Venezuelan music. Like, música llanera, I don't understand how that happened, because everything is like, like, I get how the drums got here, and like, oh, I get how the guitar got here. Who the fuck brought a harp to the middle of nowhere, Venezuela, and was like, oh, let's add this instrument to add some like angelic sounds to this type of music that's all about getting drunk and losing your wife? Like, what?
I don't know. We should research that.
We should,
Who
what?
brought the first harp to Venezuela?
Who the fuck did
Kudos
this?
to that guy or girl.
And you know what? We have so many music questions, Jenny, and we have the perfect guest
Do we now?
for all of our music questions. Cheche Alara is a Grammy and Latin Grammy winning composer, producer, conductor. I mean, I tried to make his bio efficient, but there's so much to what he's done. He's one of those people that has been in the music industry for a while and has done everything within the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like the jack of all trades of the music industry. And we have him here with us, Jenny. The 2 failed flute players have been able to get one of the most prolific producers and composers in Hollywood. He's here with us today.
I'm quite honored.
I've heard that there's going to be a flute concert today. I'm very happy to join you guys today. Yes, that's what I was told.
We
so
lied.
I can't wait.
Joke's on you, Cheche. That's not happening.
Hey guys, it's great to meet you. Great to be here with you.
Okay, so how many instruments do you play?
Well, let's see. I want to make sure that by the end of this conversation, you're gonna have me way more down to earth, and you're gonna feel way better about yourselves.
Oh my God.
So I only play things that have keys in them. I play piano. Piano is my instrument, but I play organ. I play accordion. Only the accordion that has keys on one side.
Ooh.
I suck at anything with strings. Guitar, bass. I'm god awful about it. Cannot play the wind instrument. And when it comes to singing, when I work with a lot of great singers in the studio, so I have to tell them what to do. Mm-hmm. But they have to look past at how I sound, because I sound terrible.
You have a musical ear,
Yeah.
but you can't sing. That's me. I've always had a musical ear. I can tell when someone's off key, or and I'm like, but then I can't sing well.
Yep. Yep. So there's, interesting enough, to me, music is, sure, you can have the experiences that you guys had, right? With, like doing it and then like, oh, this is not for me. But any music professional, if you will, if you could use that term somehow, we have varying degrees of that whole like, am I doing this? Is it really? People are calling me to do this that, am I faking this? Is it true?
Are you having imposter syndrome, Cheche, after all this time?
Every musician in the world has it. And anyone that tells you they don't, they're lying. Yes. Yes.
That makes me feel better because I am plagued by imposter syndrome.
Me too.
I think artists in general, we all have different degrees of that.
Yeah.
Depending on the day. I have weeks where I feel pretty great about myself, but then so.
And you're like, why are people hiring me? They're gonna soon find out that I'm terrible. That's how I feel all the time too. Oh my gosh, we're so ridiculous. Artists are ridiculous.
We really are.
Yep.
But what I am jealous of musicians is like, I don't have something I can do a party trick of and show people that I'm like talented, because everyone can talk and tell a story, which is essentially what I do. But if there's a piano there,
Yeah.
and there's a lull in the conversation, you can be like, hey guys, are you ready for this? And then you just slide into the piano. You start playing a magical piece.
Casey and
People are like, "I
JoJo's
can't
all
do
my
that.
life.
I can't do that.
Perfect.
Like,
That's what I learned how to play on my own, and that's all I know.
That's awesome. Well, you know what's funny? Playing in parties and things like that, for me, it has to be like really good friends and because not to be too serious about it, but it has to come from me wanting to play. I don't like it when people go like, hey, there's a piano. Then I feel like Joanna on the throat thing, like, I just have my hands are feeling a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, what do you do? I'm a doctor. Oh, can you diagnose me in the
Right
middle of the party
now.
for free? Like, what? No. Like, I mean, again, I love doing it, but it's not like. It's not a given, and as I get older, it's more of not a given. Makes sense. It's like,
I
don't feel like
understand
playing,
It's so crazy hearing you talk like this, because I mean, you've worked with Natalia Lafourcade, Thalia, Robbie Williams, freaking Pink, Jennifer Lopez, Barbara Streisand, Christina Aguilera. Like, you've worked with like the las eminencias.
You worked with Mariela del Barrio.
Yes.
Yes, I did.
My God.
Yes.
Mariela del Barrio. Like, you worked with the Maria. La del
Uh-huh.
Barrio.
Yep. But you know what's funny? Most people, and even most people that you just mentioned, there is this thing of like, hey, this is what we do. We love doing it, right? It's our passion. We have a lot of fun doing it. But at the end of the day, it's something that, I love how in English we use the word play an instrument. We still say sing. There's a different word for cantar. But in Spanish we say tocar an instrumento, which is a very drastically different perception.
Like touching an instrument, right? That's what it translates to. Just touch an instrument.
I touch the violin. What the heck is that? Do you play? But the fact that we have a different word in English that is play, and also implies actually playing. It's a good time. So it's for everyone that I work with, there is different different degrees of this, like, hey, this is fun, let's do it, let's have fun, and it could sure there is a business side to it, but I try not to think of it, honestly.
Isn't that interesting that, like, one of my favorite things is comparing English and Spanish and all languages, and Jenny knows this. I always like in every episode I'm like, that in Spanish there's no word for, and what I find interesting is generally I think cultures where Spanish is spoken, la música is very playful. And the irony that the word for playing an instrument in Spanish is tocar, which is something very como que, there's not a lot of joy in that word.
Yep,
and that in English, which I think cultures that speak English tend to be a little less joyful, maybe a little more following the rules.
Yep.
They got to be like, what? Don't just touch the instrument. You got to play. You got to put some soul into it. The word we use for this has to tell you to have fun with it.
That is super cool.
I never thought about that.
So, Cheche, like you've really done so much, and we want to talk to you about everything you've done in your career. But before you got here to the States to Berklee School of Music to learn music, what was your childhood like that you said, this is what I want to do?
Basically, I I grew up. I was born and raised in Buenos Aires, in Argentina.
Lovely.
And yeah, it's pretty.
We forgive you. I'm
Sorry.
kidding.
Wow.
Sorry.
You're like, I love it, and Joanna's being a hater.
I'm kidding.
It's
I'm
like,
kidding.
yeah, we love it. Yeah, it's great.
Yes.
It's Argentina. Great.
We got live sound effects.
Yo, we're getting our podcast composed live.
Awesome. Yeah. That well, but I grew up in a very artistic family. But my mom is a painter. She has an art school and she teaches anyone from neighborhood kids to like 80-year-olds, in a part of town called San Telmo, which is the old town in Buenos Aires. It's a really, really, really cool part of town. My favorite part of Buenos Aires by far. And my great aunt was a piano player. And she gave me a piano for my 4th birthday. And long story short, took me a while to get into it. At first, I wasn't really into it. It was like a little bit of a, generational clash, because my great aunt was obviously way older than me, and she was very strict. I didn't like it. Then I found a teacher. Oh yeah. Then I gave it up when I was 5 or so. I was like, nah, not doing this.
At 5, you already made the decision.
I was like, hey.
Executive decision about my life. No.
No, exactly. Yep, ain't gonna happen. So and then I found a teacher that I love, that I still love. He's my biggest mentor and like family at this point. And I studied with him until I left Buenos Aires after high school. But I don't think I've ever made a conscious decision of like, oh, this is what I want to do. It's just like I truly cannot imagine myself doing anything else. I would probably be a disaster doing anything else. So, and I love this, and it brings me. It's a lot of fun, and it's still fun after all these years. So, the moment it stops being fun, I'll probably think about something else.
It's so funny, like when people ask me, like, when did you decide to become a comedian? And I was just like, honestly, I didn't really have many other options.
Yep.
Just like, I'm not great at many things, so kind of limited in my choices here.
Yep, exactly. So, it happens, and then life happens, and you start doing things that you like and meeting people that like the same things. You make friends. And music is such a great hang. Like whenever you go, I think this could be anywhere in the world. Usually, musicians we like to have fun with what we do. And if it's the kind of thing where like people, love playing, love taking breaks and hanging out and like cracking jokes and having good food and it's like it's a way to live life, in a way, and I love it. It's pretty cool.
Music is such a big part of everyone's lives,
right?
It's just such like from the beginning of time, like cavemen started. It's kind of crazy how that came about. Even it's just like embedded in our DNA.
It's a very primal thing, and it's also it gets you. It's funny because it's something that is really primal that can also, in the right circumstances, get to the most sensitive and deepest part of your soul, which is weird, because usually primal things are more about like strong experience, like this. But music is, I'm glad I like it. Let's put it that way.
It's interesting how music, like, there's a song by an Argentinian composer, the song Adiós Nonino, right? I remember listening, ¿cómo es? Astor Piazzolla.
Astor Piazzolla, yeah.
I remember listening to the song as a kid. I was really, really young, and I was in the car, and I started crying. And my mom was like, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. I didn't understand. Like I was very young, and I was like, no sé, and it's the song, and I didn't even know that song Adiós Nonino meant goodbye grandfather. He wrote that song when his grandfather died, and the song feels like mourning, and it feels like pain, but it also feels like beauty, and I had no idea. I was too young to really understand the complexities of these emotions, but that song made me feel something.
Yeah.
That I hadn't really experienced before. And so, I can't believe I got a live performance of it.
But that's what it's all about. That's what to me what music is all about, to convey that emotion, and it could be anything. It could be that what you felt, listening to that I literally just felt playing a little bit from it. Mm-hmm. But it could be also Pitbull. It could be like, I want to get up, dear God, I was feeling that, like I feel like I'm getting up and or whatever. Exactly. So, and anything in between, like I think if you listen to like Ode to Joy, you know, the Ninth Symphony.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, if you don't feel anything with that, something is really deeply
Wait,
wrong.
how does Ode to Joy go? How does Ode to...
Da, da, da.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was just an excuse to have you play. Yeah.
Can you play some Bach?
It sounds kind of cheesy, but that's really what it's about. It's really about, you know, communicating and emotion, and it could be anything. It could be from, you know, the kind of emotion that you're feeling okay and you're crying like a baby, you know, like.
But that's why it's so important, in especially film and television scores.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
if you watch a movie without any sound design.
Oh God, yeah. Well, you know what's funny? You can do if you have a scene in a film and there's no music, it could literally mean opposite things with different types of music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right, like if you're looking at, you know, like someone staring at a sunset, and it's like okay, this guy.
They're gonna have a quirky day.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Weird little day.
But, you know, but if you like that, it's like
No shit.
it's like
This guy just got broken up with.
Exactly.
This guy just got broken up with, and it's Zoe Deschanel.
That's pretty
Okay,
basic.
yeah,
But
it's
you
always
know,
Zoe Deschanel.
but really like music can be like the whisper into your ear, going like, hey, what they're really trying to tell you here is
Yes.
this.
It's like, this is how you should be feeling.
Yes. Yep.
Forget
Yep,
the
yep.
actors.
Yep.
They try their best.
They try, but they
The
do.
music is really what's like.
Let me really tell you what's going on here.
Jenny, that's such a good point. O sea, what you do, because you compose music for television, film, and like, that is an actor. That is someone. That's someone that's, I mean, not literally on screen, but they're the music, the composition, the score is an actor.
Yep, absolutely. You know, it's an actor, and many times is. Remember, like in Greek tragedies and things like that, they used to have the figure of a narrator, un narrador.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Who's the person who kind of like walks you through, like, hey, whatever is not being said or implied.
Or the chorus. I was in the chorus
There you
in
go.
Medea once.
There you
that
go.
was
there
that was a
you
good
go.
time.
There you go.
We're like, this is how you should be feeling right now.
Exactly,
Esta tipa va a matar sus hijos.
Yep. And you know, it's funny that's what also happens sometimes, even in pop music, where like usually music and lyrics go together, right? Like if you have an upbeat song, chances are you're not going to be talking about something terribly depressing. But occasionally, and for comedic factor or ironic factor, if you do something like that, you know, it's like, whoa! Like some of my favorite, you know, comedic music is like Monty Python and things like that.
Oh,
And
yes.
they have some. I mean, you're like, wow, what a cool thing. It's like, wait a second, this guy crucified and he's singing in front. What? Wait, what? It's like, what's going on?
Right. Like, music tells you what to feel,
Yep.
but then sometimes music can be the incongruity that comedy does, which is
Yep.
like, this music doesn't fit here.
Yep.
And that's what makes it funny.
Yep.
It helps
Yeah.
in creating the comedy, which in my sketches, for example, having music cut in and out is almost like
Yes.
a tempo of jokes.
Yes.
It's keeping the tempo of
Yep.
where you should laugh. It's almost like the laugh track,
Yep.
but through music.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I agree.
I've had to
1,000%.
learn that myself with my sketches because I do everything myself with like the editing, and I'm like, I didn't learn sound design, pero I've had to study sketch comedy shows like Portlandia and Key and Peele to see how they really utilize music. And like Joanna's saying, it's true. It plays another part in comedy,
Yes.
in joke telling, aside from the writing and the acting.
And Portland is a great example of that. Because Fred
Oh,
is,
they're
you know,
fantastic. Well, no, they're
well,
both musicians.
Exactly.
And you can tell.
It really shows. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yep. That's one of my
God, you're
favorites.
right.
Yeah. Yep.
They are both musicians.
Yeah, that's how they became friends.
And Fred Armisen is a percussionist.
He's
Yes.
a drummer. He's a hell of a. You know, he's Venezuelan, right?
Yeah.
His mom is Venezuelan. Yeah.
his mom- okay, yeah.
Every Venezuelan loves to mention he's Venezuelan.
I bet, yeah, that's probably the
like
most.
He's ours.
Someone is like, oh, have you seen this? No, Fred Armisen es mitad venezolano.
Porque en todo, like, and they repeat a lot of like sounds. So like when they play the bookshop owners, like,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
women and women
Oh my
first.
God,
every
that is-
time Fred Armisen's character is about to like get pissed, it's like
Yes.
this like low drum, like,
Yes,
and then
yes.
it stops.
Yep.
And
It's
even in the
awesome.
editing, it's very musical.
Yep.
So I've been like studying that, and I've implemented it in my own sketches, and oh my God, it's like night and day.
It really makes a huge. I agree. It makes a huge difference. Absolutely.
how do you score something? How do you compose something for an existing piece? Like, one thing
Yes,
is
I wanna know.
you write a song, right? You can write a song. You're like, oh my God, I have this feeling, whatever. And then another thing is, okay, I have footage for this TV show. I need to make something that fits this. What is the difference between the creation of those two things?
That's a really good question. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. It's hard. It's very hard. I don't have to answer it, so it's easy for me.
Well, no, what comes to mind is that, I mean, if you're writing a song by yourself, you basically want to get your point across, right? Whatever you're feeling, whatever you want to say. If you're collaborating with someone else, it's hey, what do we feel, right? Like it's the sum of, however many people you have in the room writing the song. When you do music for TV, for film, for media in general, it's an interesting process because you want to get the vision of the director, of the creative team. It really depends, right? It could be, if it's a music-heavy project, it could be a few people involved. Sometimes producers are involved as well. But you basically you want to make everybody's vision a reality. But interesting enough, you usually get to the process after they have been living with this for a long time, and you haven't been part of all those conversations, right?
Right.
And then there's also the fact that some people are extremely musically inclined and they can give you very clear ideas, and some people don't have a clue. And it's okay, they don't have to. I always think of what I do as being a chef, cooking for people, and it's like you have like 10 people that showed up at Saturday night at your place, and you're cooking for them, and you want to make them happy, you want to make them enjoy your version of food, right? They're coming.
Right.
But also you want them to have something that they like. You don't want to be like, well, I made this crazy thing that you will hate, but you should, pretend you like it because I made it. No, we're not gonna fly. So it's interesting. It's basically trying to get as much, a productive conversation with whoever is, the creative team, and trying to, hopefully, if you're lucky, you understand and they make sense and they don't contradict each other, which is, very common too. Like someone's like, this scene should be all about, hope. And the other person is like, what? This is where we realize that the person gave up, and we have to come to terms with that, with those feelings. It's like, okay, this is interesting, So it's the short answer. I guess there's no set way, and there's a lot of trial and error, and you have to trust your gut and know that it's about the film. It's what when I'm producing an album, for example, is what the constant question is: what does this song need? It's not what I want to put in it, but what does it need, right? It's the same for a film. It's like, what does it need? How can I make this become better without getting in the way of it?
You just sounded like a parent talking about like how to rear a child. It's like, I can't make my child what I want it to be sometimes. Like, this child came out a certain way. This song is this song.
What does it need? Not what I want it to be. No, it's very true. I've always wondered that because I've interviewed other composers and stuff, and I'm just like, how does one, like, I know my process of like writing a sketch or a TV pilot, and it's like about outlining it and breaking down story, but I can never figure out how musicians do it. I'm just like, there's so many components.
There is, but you start. You start doing this, and then you build a vocabulary, musical vocabulary, so you can hopefully relate to that person and be like, but you can start with basic things. It's like, what kind of music are you into? Like, what do you hear? Do you hear any music? They're like, and then, you want to make, you still want to make it your own somehow, right? It's not like like you're making paninis, like you take it,
paninis.
No, but. And it's an interesting and it really varies from project to project. It's pretty cool.
So we've talked so much about like the beauty and the creative process and this like sort of almost como esotericness of music, but music, like, it's a business, and you are a businessman in this industry, and you wear many hats. You do many things. How did you go from and what was your process of going from like, I'm a musician, I love music, whatever, and then I'm moving to Hollywood, and I'm going to start fucking doing this thing for real?
What comes to mind is, people refer to this as the music industry or the music business, right? You hear those terms a lot. Music industry, music business, networking, all these terms are always like part of like, Now, probably this is one of the few things that I'm certain of in life. I think that the business side, the industry side, is one of the link in a chain, right? A link, So it's one of them. One of them is in what we do is absolutely a business related and industry related. But at the core, the most important part about music has nothing to do with the industry, nothing to do with the business, and everything to do with what you, Joanna, felt when you were like listening to Adios Nonino when you were a kid, right? And I think it's easier to people to talk about an industry, about a business, because then you're talking about tangible things, and you can be like, well, such and such sold X amount of albums, made X amount of money, got X amount of streams, therefore that person is successful, or that person, I think again it's easier for people to talk about tangible things than to talk about things that are not tangible. Now, what you felt as a kid when you listened to that song, we could talk about that for days, and we probably wouldn't even know what the heck it was, right? It's
Right.
very, very. It's like probably at the deepest of the human experience. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to get like bullshit deep. I really, I promise you,
true.
it's because again, I think it's almost like when I hear people talk about mostly about and particularly with younger people that come out of Berkeley or like music schools, and they're like, well, because the business, I'm like, stop, please stop. What we do is art.
Yeah.
It is art. Now, granted, at some point you have to make a living from that art and turn that into paying your freaking water bill, right?
Yeah.
So, sure. But if you're going to sit at home going like, you know what? I really want to pay my water bill for the next year. I'm going to write this song. Chances are you're going to fuck it up. Pardon me.
No, yeah.
What I try to humbly do into the projects that I'm involved with, I always try to bring as much art to it as
Yes.
possible, even though it might be, we're doing music for, it's a background music for an elevator scene in an accounting firm, Still, I'd be like, you know what? What could be cool? How can we make it cool? How can we
Yeah,
make
you
it,
have to.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
again, I think it's kind of a sign of the times where like people are really trying to simplify deep things into things that are easier to talk about and to address. And talking about the industry, talking about the business, it's like, well, again, it's tangible. You can talk about data, you can talk about facts, where music at the end of the day is like, well, you can be like, you know what? I love Mark Anthony. And someone can be like, you know what? I don't like him at all. And both people, it's because it's music,
Yeah.
For the record, I love Mark Anthony, but but you know what I mean. So, I'm sorry that I took a detour from the question, but to go back to the question, what did I do? I very sincerely, I always try to make the music talk, do the talking, and whatever doors that my music opened or closed, because I like everyone else, I've been fired as well from many projects, right? Well, that wasn't it. But I would never think about a business decision before the creative decision. I would bend over backwards once I have a creative thing that I love, that I committed to, that I'm a part of, that I'm embedded with. I would bend over backwards to make it work business wise, but not the other way around.
Oh my gosh. This is so inspiring porque it's very similar for filmmakers, content creators, comedians, where it's like everything's about branding yourself and being a business, and
Yes.
like all these platforms set these really unrealistic expectations, like you gotta go viral.
Yes,
And
yes.
there was a while that I felt like I lost myself artistically, especially when I worked at digital media companies like BuzzFeed and Me Too. No offense to them, pero I felt like I had to be part of this machine, but I didn't feel fulfilled creatively. And once I stopped caring about going viral, I started becoming happier again with what I was creating. And like you were like,
See?
whatever doors that opens, I think ultimately more opportunities will come because I'm being more artistic with my decisions versus trying to think so hard on what's gonna be a hit,
I love it. I click with that, Jenny, a lot. And you know what just reminded me of? I was giving a talk for Berkeley students a while ago, and we were talking about the same thing, but I steer the conversation going towards this because I don't think people talk about this kind of stuff in school, and it's a shame. It's a big. It's a big gap. So what I remember what I asked the students, said, hey, show of hands, this is pre-COVID. So show of hands, how many of you have you heard, or have you talked or been giving advice advice about networking in the last few months, and a bunch of like, oh, we know networking is important. I was like,
Oh,
how about branding? A lot of hands, social media presence, blah 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 blah. And then,
gosh.
Joanna, going back to what you said a while ago, I said, and when is the last time that anyone talked to you about emotion and music?
Oh, man.
And it was the freaking Sahara Desert, like, like no one. And I was like,
No, that's so sad.
but it's because no one, because back when I was in music school, it was like, literally not once. And I went to undergrad, and I went through my master's. No one, except some one-on-one conversations with teachers at bars and things like that, they were not part of this, the school curriculum. They never touched on these things. And it's like, so what do you do? You're going to music school to be a brand? To make money? What the heck? Like, pick something else. You're gonna make so much money doing other things.
Literally, just be an investment banker. It's just, that's all you, if that's what you want to do.
If I put the amount of hours that I put in music in any other business, probably I would be a gazillionaire.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't. But I love what I do. And
claro, yeah.
But again, emotion. Not again. I hate to say this, but it has this like, oh, you're gonna go into this, but it's a truth. It's really what's about. I mean, we don't have the thing to me is like, you don't have to talk about it, but you cannot ignore it, because if you ignore it, you're missing out. You know what I mean? It's just
then
like,
what are you?
no.
Like, what kind of musician?
Exactly, and
I don't-
art,
that's weird.
and artists in general, and
Artists in general.
and even like you said, like pitching series and things in Hollywood. It's so easy to get caught in like, well, it's a business and there's going to be a pitching meeting and like a networking event, and sure, those things, of course, you have to meet. Duh, you cannot be doing. But at the core, we have to keep this magic alive.
Well, so I think another correlation and similarity between the music industry and like, what me and Jenny do is there's something internal and individualistic about the artist, like the auteur, someone who wants to do something. They're driven by something within them. But then in order to make a great product, you need a lot of people.
Yep.
Like, you need to collaborate. And, there's projects where I've been like, this is a well-oiled machine. The voice that I have in my heart and head is exactly what these people are sort of seeing and feeling with me. We're all going towards the same goal. And then I've had projects where I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is he talking about? You know what I mean? And then I'm like, I have to work with this person, but then I don't like what they're doing, and I just don't know how to be a good artist and a good person. You know what I mean? I'm just like, how do I do this? And you've collaborated with so many people, and you work with so many people. Mm-hmm. What's some advice you have for me? Because right now I have a project where I won't say details, but I'm like, what? How do I fix this without hurting someone's feelings?
Oh my God.
I don't know if I can give you an advice, but I'll share one opinion that I have. And
Okay.
I've shared this with some people that work with me that are like slightly younger, like or a little younger, that work with me. And if I can learn something along the way, I'd love to pass it along. I think the key to success in what we do is a combination of truly, truly caring and truly, truly committing to what you do, and putting 1,000% of yourself in what you're doing, and also a combination of that with literally don't giving a fuck.
Oh my God, how? I know what you mean, but how?
Ta-da! Yes. So, but now, and the key is to know when to use which one. Which one? Because if you really care about something and you pour in your soul, and you basically in a room where people want to have, going back to my food analogy, people just want. They're driving on the road and they could care less if they're having a chalupa from Taco Bell. They just want to have something in their stomach to keep going, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then you're like, but I have this vision of this. Then you're gonna be hitting your head against the wall for like a long time. You're gonna be frustrated, right? Mm-hmm. Now, so that's probably a time to not really give a fuck. So
not give a fuck,
right?
Yeah.
But now, if you're lucky enough and you're working with a team of people that are like really trying to make something happen, and they help you. It's almost like you help each other, right? Like if you have a good script and you have a good composer and you have good actors and a good director, it's like everything like exponentially gets better, right? That would be my humble take on that. Like, when to use those things. I know that I do that constantly. I'll be like, oh, and in some projects you get to a point where it's like, oh, this just turned into one of those projects where like, okay, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
This just turned into an I don't give a fuck project.
Yeah. Hopefully, fortunately for me, I don't get a lot of those, but it's good to have it because you never know when you're walking into a project. It's like it's almost like an arranged marriage. They go like, is this gonna? This is terrible. Why are we here? Like this is. I don't want to, particularly with people you don't know. It's like. It's but more like a blind date, I should say. But it's like, is it gonna work? And then you realize, like, 2 weeks into it, like, man, these two people are not gonna help me. They don't care about what I'm doing. Well, Anyway.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. You don't kill yourself. You realize, like this is the most energy I'm gonna put into it. Porque para qué?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And you know what, Jenny? But to add to that, occasionally, I'm in projects where I should be like, I should not care. But because of how I feel about the project and about myself, I still put.
I'm the same. Oh my god.
You know what I mean? But I think it's also that's a whole like immigrant, like first, second, third generation.
Yes.
Like you want 10, I'm gonna give you 1,000 to show you what I. It's like
Yeah, my manager's like, Jenny, you don't have to do that much. You don't have to do that much. Just And I'm like, no, it has to. And I have to wear this, and I have to do that. Yeah. No, I understand that.
Yeah.
You have to be a little psychotic to be in these industries. Like you have to be so passionate that you're blind to all of the negative.
Yes.
Like, so then, turning that on and off is challenging because the reason we have it is the reason we're in it.
Yep.
Because any sane person would not be in this industry.
No.
Yep. I completely agree. It's a pretty crazy. It's a wonderful way to go through life. But it's also
for
crazy,
sure.
It
is.
It is. And I think as you get older, you start coming to terms with like, you know what, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do this. You prove yourself. You've done. And then you get something like, well, I'll do this and I won't do that. That's simple.
Yeah.
I love as we've been talking, the sounds of email tings have been coming in as just a reminder of how busy you are and how you're taking time out of your schedule.
Are you getting that? Oh,
I'm always like, oh my god, he's busy. He's a busy man. He's still talking to.
I'm so sorry.
No. This was like a flex. This was an accidental flex on your part. Like, people want to work with me.
So Cheche, before we go, we want to know who you're working with now currently.
Let's see. For us, musicians, every week is different, right? Like so right now I'm wrapping up production and writing for Camila Cabello's new album. That's going to be, she's
not a
amazing.
big deal. Just like one of the biggest stars of the time.
She's amazing. She's so great. 1,000% cool. So I'm doing that. I'm wrapping up a few songs that I have on a movie for Paramount called Lost City. It's a movie with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum and Brad Pitt coming up.
Yeah, I think I've heard of them.
Yeah.
Those people.
What else? I swear to you, I'm not making. I need to look. Okay, I have the Grammy show coming up in the not the Latin.
Are you checking your emails to see what it is? All of the things you have to do.
I'm looking at my schedule, but I swear to you, this is not. I'm not. No, humble bragging. Te lo juro. I don't.
You're Argentinian. You're Argentinian.
No, I know. No, pero te lo juro. Es que I'm not proud of this. I should know. Starting Coachella for Karol G. We're doing. Okay, I think that's it for this week. Yes.
This week.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe in the coming weeks, it's inviting Jenny and Joanna over to hang out and make our own music.
I record Christmas song parodies every year. That's my claim to fame.
I love it. Let's do it. Let's get a studio.
I love doing song parodies. Like I love Weird Al Yankovic, so I'm like, my husband's a musician. He tweaks my voice so I don't sound like Gaga, and I can hold a tune, and then I just do these song parodies. That's as far as my music career goes.
That is super cool. I love Weird Al, by the way.
I dreamed of being a rapper. I still think I can pull it off. Maybe
Joanna,
one day. I love rapping, man.
There's time. There's if you have the interest, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
Let's make a song. Let's make a song called the Multi-Hyphenates, And it's just the entire rap is all the things that we are.
That does sound like a Coachella band.
Yes. So Cheche, before you leave, can you make us a version of our theme song? Like, can you play a version of our theme song for us?
Absolutely. I'll try. So. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Hyphenated, yo. Hanging out with Jenny, bro. Cheche. Doing a song like he in Mulan. Holy shit, that was so good.
You got to rap too. Everyone's living out their dreams in this
I don't know what rhymes with
episode.
song, so I said Mulan.
Thong.
Thong is a good one.
Thong.
Always a good one.
Oh, I love that. That was like, clearly, you've tried to rhyme song before, and you know that thong is one of the few words that works.
Doesn't work all the time, but when it does, it works wonders. Yes.
Yes, we should talk to Cisco about that.
Exactly. Cisco. Oh, God.
All right, Cheche, thank you so much for joining us. This was marvelous, and we kind of want to rip that song and have it be our new...
So
Our new theme.
fancy.
It's so fancy.
It's been a pleasure. I love you guys, and I listen to you all the time. So lovely to meet you in person, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for a great interview.
No, chicos, un placer de verdad. Take care.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Bye.